R be the region in the first quadrant bounded above by the graph of y equals 1 minus x squared and below by the graph of y equals 1 minus root of x, as shown in the figure below. What is the area of the region? Well, what's really wonderful about this question is that it tells us which function is above and which function is below. It tells us that this region is bounded in the first quadrant above by 1 minus x squared. So we know this is y equals 1 minus x squared. And then below, and maybe I'll use a different color here, below by the graph of y equals 1 minus root of x. Now, what do we do to find this area? Well, we know that in order to find these areas, we take the area underneath the top function, and we subtract the area underneath the bottom function, and I'll show you why. If we take the area of the top function, and that's in blue, I'll do that. I'll do a little highlighter so we can see it. The area underneath the blue function would be all of this. Great. Underneath that top function, we get this whole region, which is that region R. But what else is included? Oh, all the space underneath. But we don't want that. We just want R. How are we going to get R? Well, we're going to subtract the portion that we don't want. And that portion, luckily, is that region underneath y equals 1 minus root x, which I'm now going to go over in red. If we subtract this region here, all we're going to be left with is that region that we want, R. So we're going to take our first integral, which will be the integral from 0 to 1 of y minus x squared. Sorry, of 1 minus x squared. And what are we going to do? We're going to subtract the area underneath the other function, y 1 minus root x. And then all of this with respect to x. And maybe I should have done this like that. Because we can see that it starts at x value of 0 and ends at an x value of 1. All right, so we have this integral. We take that integral from the top and we subtract the integral from the bottom. What I can do is I can rearrange this just a little bit. Let's write all this in black now. The integral from 0 to 1 of 1 minus 1, they're going to get rid of each other, so we're going to have negative x squared plus the square root of x. And that I'm going to rewrite as x to the power of 1/2, so I can apply the power rule. And now we're going to find our integral. Negative x squared is going to become negative x cubed over 3. Plus x to the 1/2 will become x to the power of 3 over 2 over 3 over 2. So that'll give me 2 x to the 3/2 over 3. And this from 0 to 1. Now our final step, I realize you can't see that. There we are. Now our final step, what we're going to do is we're just going to plug it in. We're going to evaluate this integral. I plug in those ones. So I get negative 1 cubed, which is just 1, over 3. Plus 2 times anything to the power of any, 1 to the power of anything is just going to be 1. So 2 times 1 will give us 2 over 3. And then we subtract, we plug in 0. But we plug in 0 into each of these, we're just going to get 0. So this will be 0. So we get negative 1/3 plus 2/3 is going to give us positive 1/3. And so we get in the end that to find the area of that curve, or the area bounded by those two curves, we find that the area is 1/3 units.